our contributions in education will be our legacy in this industry.
Whether it's through live education or maybe through social media, we're always trying to make a personal connection with you, the learner.
At Samvia, we believe our smile is our business card and our personality is our logo. And how we make people feel after you experience our education and tools is our trademark.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us, my friends, and be a part of the Samvia community. Welcome, everyone. How are we this morning, this afternoon, wherever you happen to be? Hi there, Lamhe. Nice to see your hair. Shasta, Rick, Christina, Linda, Claudia, Lisa. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm just continuing to prep here. And today, the story is going to be all about bobs. I want to show you some cool, really things to kind of help you with it, maybe issues that are happening with bobs. I want to show you a great way to layer out a bob and maintain the consistency of it looking like a bob. And then there's so many ways that you could go in and cross-check a bob. That's right, even cross-check a bob. So I want to show you a really cool technique in terms of how to do that. Hi, Jody, Vince, Denise, and hey, Valina Archer. Valina, wow, or Velma. Hey, Velma, I thought it was Valina. Valina is my sister's name. All right. Oh, God, lots of people joining. Sandra, how are you? Sylvia, nice to see you, my dear. Rosana from Mexico. ¿Cómo estás, Rosana? Todo bien en Mexico. Hi, Diane. Tracy from Missouri. Nice to see you're on. Everybody just type in where you're from. Hi, Lily. Lily, I'm sending you a hug, Lily. Lily Nielsen. Sending you some love and some hug, baby. I hope you're doing well, Lily. Sending you some thoughts and some prayers, my dear. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time and joining us today. Mars, what's up? Mars Lopez, yes. Nice to see you, Mars. Kimberly, hi, how are you? Zoe, I just want to say hi to everybody. Catherine, Jenny, Kathy, hey, what's up? Pivot Point UK. Welcome, my friends. As a matter of fact, I'm working on Pivot Point Mannequin. My beautiful Lydia here. That's who I'm working on with today. All right. Hi, Kathy. From where are you from? Connecticut. Fort Lauderdale. Shakina, Kelly, Sabrina, Susan, Maria, Simone from Arkansas. Welcome. Juan from Mexico. ¿Cómo estás? I got a couple people from Arkansas. Palm City, Florida. What's up, Jennifer? Please take care of yourself, my dear. Overprotect, don't overact. My Wong, good. Nice to see that you're on here, my dear. Glad you're working with the techniques. Pittsburgh's in the house. Colorado. All right. Guatemala. Ingrid, how are you, my dear? Desde Guatemala. All right. So let's just get on with today, guys, and talk about what we're going to do. We're going to talk about bobs. I want to show you how to take bobs and kind of like control them. Easy ways that you can work with them in terms of really going in and kind of getting problems that you might have or problems that the client's going to have. So first thing I want to share with you is how do I cross-check a bob? So you're probably looking at the mannequin, you're going, wow, where's the front? There's the front right there. But that's the bob pre-cut. But now what I have not done is cross-check one length hair. Now what I'm about to show you is a really cool idea to do. And first of all, before I get started, guys, let's give a thumbs up. Make sure you all say hi, Andrew. Andrew's backstage there, making sure things work. Jennifer from South Africa. There's Andrew. Jennifer from South Africa. Welcome, my dear. All right. A lot of times what I get underneath here is when I'm done cutting a bob, I'll get this crappage underneath here. All right. Don't know. Can you see that, guys? All right. But you can see there's this like little bits of long hair that happen right in this area here. So what happens is, the nape area, let's talk about it and why it can happen, is the nape area, it scoops in. It does this. So a lot of times what happens is this long hair area here, if we don't get that, in the blow dry, then a lot of times what happens is you're going to see this. So I like to call that crappage. And a lot of clients, they don't like that. Get all this stuff underneath. So I want to show you just a great way to cross-check that. And I'm going to work with a white comb on dark hair, and then I'm going to take our 7-inch dry cutting shear. I'm going to use the swivel just because I want to be able to maneuver my wrist. All right. So now here's the way you want to do this. And don't panic, guys, because when you see me do this, you're going to go, wow, he's cutting into an angle. He's cutting up into the bob. What you want to do is, rather than undercut, let's say she doesn't want the underneath undercut, but she wants all this crappage, let's call it, all this stuff underneath off. So now what you want to do is, watch what I'm going to do. You're going to comb the hair in its natural falling position. Then what I want you to do is I want you to just shift it with your comb. Just start to shift it. Look how I'm just shifting it. So I just comb it over. Now, as I comb over, let's give you a little bit more of a view here so you can see where I'm going to go. Okay. And you, once again, guys, no fear when you do this. You have to really just go for it and do it. Watch. So I come here. Watch this area now I'm going to work on. See right here, you're going to see there's a hard line up here. That's your line that you actually cut. And then you have all this stuff underneath here. Okay. Let's see if I can get in a little tighter for you there so that you can see this. You got to see it up close and personal. Okay, there, that's a good shot right there. I'm actually going to go low so I get myself out of the way. All right, so watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to just move this over. See, now there's the line. That's that top length up there. And watch how I just go into that and I take everything off up to that point. Now, here's what's happening. The hair underneath, it's traveling a shorter distance. The hair on top is coming way over here, so you're not affecting it. What you're affecting is the hair underneath. Now, watch just this one area. When I release that, watch that one area that I just cut right there. See how clean that is now? So you can just start to see what I'm going to do is just eliminate everything. So what I'm trying to share with you is you're using the top length that you have. That's the guide and the line that you cut to. All right. So, and you're going to work that whole back nape area this way. So all I do is I just comb, and now look at how clean that line is. You see just that one area right here that I've done, you can see how clean that line is. All right. Let's move her here. Okay. Now watch what I'm going to do. Watch how I'll take this. Look at me move all this. Now look at the line. I don't know if you can see it. It's way up there. Watch me take the shear and I'm going to follow that right up to that line. And you're going, wow, Sam, you're cutting all that hair. All I'm doing, watch, when I release this, watch this. Look at, see where I'm at, what I just cut? How I'm just taking off that. Now look at that. Okay. And then they're looking how I haven't cut right here. There's more crappage there. So what I've discovered, I'm going to get in now and get really close now that you understand what I'm doing. What I've discovered by doing this, you're actually taking the hair out of its natural fall. And what you're doing is you're making this hair travel. This hair doesn't travel, so therefore it comes out from underneath and it enables you to get it. Now watch the line. I can see there's some crappage there. Rather than just combing it down and coming into it, watch me move that. See how I move it? And look how that line, now I can see that line. Okay, and I cut right to that line. Now watch when I move this back. Okay, look at how I'm starting to just get all that underneath there. So this is a great way to just go in and cross-check one length hair. And what I find is it helps me to do that. Now there's another little trick that I'm going to show you. Watch. Now watch when I just tilt her right side up. Look how solid that's starting to look right there. Okay, watch me take it, move it. So I move it, and I'm just looking to see where I need to go. Look at that. There's that hard line way up there. Watch me go right underneath and take all that out. Now watch when this just collapses. You can just start to see how solid this is looking. Now let's just get her to move. Okay. And now look at how solid that area that I've been working on. Look how solid that area is. Okay. Little crappage right there. I can see it. See right there? You can just start to see the shadow of the line drop down to here, this point, and then it just kind of moves back up and moves back up. So there's something there. So let's get that. Oh, got to stabilize that. Hold your head still now. Okay, here, and I move. Where I see that line, that's where you have to take that to. Okay, and like I said, sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm cutting into my line. But you're not actually cutting into your line, guys, when you do this. And that's because you're taking the time to move this way over. Look at that. See how I can move this over? Now watch. See all that? Comes right off. When I release, this falls back to natural fall. And what I have is I have more of a solid line there, so I don't have all that stuff underneath. Now, this is a great trick to do if you find that she does not want to have an undercut, because that's the best way to solve all of that underneath. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Now, we've cross-checked the underneath. Now let's go after the top. Have you ever cut a bob? And let's say you've been to a movie theater, okay? And what happens when I sit behind somebody who has a bob, I see all that stuff underneath. I just want to reach up there and get my scissor and cut that, okay? Aurelia, I'm going to answer your question in a moment. And then what happens is sometimes when they're sitting there, you're seeing long pieces of hair sit over on one side, maybe a little bit longer, just little pieces. And that's because maybe it was cut on a side part, but the wind moves it. So watch, I'm going to show you how to cross-check that top now. Andrew, let's pop her question back up, Aurelia's, or her comment. When the density of someone's hair is super heavy, do you section in smaller sections? I find myself overcompensating at times and the line gets shorter. Aurelia, that's a great way to do it, but I would recommend go as high as the occipital, because you're using, remember, what I'm trying to teach you here is you're using that top length. Where's her back? Yeah, that's her back. You're using this top length as your guide. So by moving this, I'm not affecting that top length. I'm affecting everything else that's underneath that needs to be cut. That's what I want you to understand. So if you go to just up at the top of the occipital, that occipital area, and you just start to move it like this, you'll start to see if there's some. So now you could certainly do that subdivided if you have some really thick hair. Okay, I hope that helps you out, my dear. Now watch this, guys. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and watch me just move this hair in areas. So I'm going to take everything opposite at her hairline. I'm going to bring it to me. Okay. So now watch what I'm doing. Now look at what I'm doing here. See how there's little pieces right here? I don't know if you can see them, but there's little pieces. So watch how I'll stabilize my finger angle, place my guiding blade there, start to move my hand up and just start opening and closing. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm softening that top edge so that when the wind kicks this and moves it anywhere, watch how I'll comb it in various areas. Now I'm going to comb it to center back. Okay, now watch. You can just start to see, when you elevate, you can see, see this? There's some there. Now watch me lock to that line. Now place the guiding blade on my middle finger. Now start to elevate. As I elevate, I open and close. Okay. So now you're maybe be concerned about, well, Sam, are you not layering that? She wanted one length. Guys, I'm talking about maintenance. How, she moves it around, the wind moves it around. You may cut it true to natural fall, but the wind might kick it and maybe it's slightly off center on that part. So this is a great way just to move them around. Because see, I'm just, wherever I'm standing, the opposite side, take it and comb it to you. Watch me lock in any hair that I see overlapping. Now I just keep moving to small little narrow areas, rectangle areas. Just taking that rectangle area, focusing. Look how I lock in. Scissor locks. Now elevate. Now start closing. Okay. Now watch me bring everything to the front. You got to be kidding me, Sam. I'm moving I cut it to natural fall, but now I'm working with Mother Nature. That's the key thing, guys, here. Okay. So watch on here. Look how I'm moving it. Look at it. Now watch. Maybe there's a point here. Sometimes that happens. And I might want to get it off. That's pretty clean. But let's just see if there's any edges that kind of like just float over. All right. So that when I'm done with this bob, any way the wind takes it, there's not going to be any overlap. Now, I find this particularly awesome on side parts. But Sam, it lives at the side part. I know it does, my friends, but sometimes that side part could be here. Sometimes some of this hair falls over here. Now, do you ever see them kind of like pick up the piece of hair, they shake it, and then they put it back where it belongs? This is a great way to kind of like counter that. I give them that this is the solution to that so that that doesn't happen. And I just comb everywhere. Now, I've shown you 2 ways to cross-check. I showed you the bottom length, how to cross-check that bottom length. Okay. And then I showed you how to work with that top area. Okay. Now, let's go back. Now, I'm going to come through. See that? Now, I'm going to come through, and now I'm going to do it on a shorter. So I'm going to take this one. I want you to see it again on shorter. Okay. So this is a shorter bob. Now watch. You're going to really see me cross-check that underneath there. Let's just see if there's anything there for me to get. All right. So watch me move it. Okay. Get another shot of this now. Okay. Watch me move it. Now look at. See this? That's my guide. See all this? I want that off. But Sam, that looks like at an angle. Don't worry. Okay, come in. Look at me. Wow, look how high I am. Now watch this. Look at that fall. Woo, look at that. Okay, I got some over here. I love this technique. This is just an old Sassoon technique. That's basically what it, oh, look at that side now. That is so cool, guys. Look at that. Okay. If you're learning something, just give me a yes. Hi, Lori. How are you, my dear? Lori Foodens, nice to see you from Florida. I hope you're doing well. And I hope that you're doing well. I think you might be open at your salon. Look, see that? See how I got that line? Okay, I'm going to bring her in closer. You got to see this one. I'm going down here. Okay, see how that line is? Now watch what I'm doing. Look, see how I move that? And anything that I see up that line, I'm taking it. Now watch, when I release that, look how blocked off that is now. And there's nothing underneath there. Okay, look how I just continue to move around. That was good. Oh, this is something. So Sam, can you sometimes put your hand on top of it? Sometimes I do. Most of the times I find when I'm working with a mannequin, because the skin isn't forgiving, I'll go in and use my comb. All right, same thing here. Let's see if we got any overlap here. Look at there. See these little pieces? So can you imagine if she takes her hands to her hair, she has these little pieces floating over. This is the opportunity when you cross-check that top. So Sam, I'm redconized, meaning I cut to the bevels and I cut to natural fall. Would you suggest that I go back and I take the hair, comb it out of natural fall, and I do this? Yes. Why, Sam? Because of Mother Nature. Way the Mother Nature moves the hair around. So I don't want anything that's going to overlap. So if you learn something here, yeah, good. You guys are learning something great. Hey, Marisa. Marisa Fincher, good to see you, my dear. All right, here, looking again. Just some class. This is classical, guys, going back and just taking these one-length bobs. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is I've got, let's pretend we've got that Guatemalan hair. We've got that hair from Mexico, the really good, dense type of hair. All right, so what I want to do is show you how could I save a client blow drying time without really going in, Sam, and doing a strong undercut or doing a strong underlayer. But I want to make it easier for them. What do you mean? Well, there's the hair back in that nape area. Do they really need all this hair here? Okay. In most cases, they don't. All right. So now let's go through and let me show you a great technique for that. We're going to work through the nape area. Okay. Now, when we do an undercut, most cases, I might take it, depending upon density, I'll take it up. This is a very fragile client. Okay. Do you cut the line parallel to your guide? Yes. So but remember, Google user, when you're going through and you're moving that line, the guide may look like a diagonal. You cut up to that blunt line that you see, and you'll take care of all that underneath. All right, hope that helped you out. All right, so normally I might take that to this area. Okay, now this client's a very fragile client. She's like, I don't want that undercut, all that. All right, but what she wants to do is make it easier for her to work with. So let's just cut this in half. So if she's half the personality, then cut the section to the half point. Then now come through. I'm working with a Samvia dry clip. Okay, look at that elastic. And that's because I don't want the clip to leave a mark on the hair after I just spent some time flat ironing this. Okay, I come to the opposite side, take a section. Okay, and now I'm going to wipe this hair out. But I'm going to wipe it out not aggressively. Okay, so I'm going to take, because I said that, I'm going to work with a blending shear. Okay, so I'm working with a blending shear. Now this is a reversible blending shear. Okay, I just reverse it. So I control where I want the blunt blade on the bottom or the top. And that actually affects the direction the hair is going to go when you have longer hair. All right, so let's just work with that. Now look at, maybe this is this great scenario right here. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more light. Let's say, for example, she is thinking about how her natural movement underneath, she doesn't like it. And you notice how some people can be a little bit wavier underneath than they can on top. And that's a lot of times, that's because they focus so much with intent and purpose blow drying this and not as much with that. So I want to soften this. I just want to take that. So I'm going to work with a blending shear, and I'm just going to work scissor over comb, working with the wide teeth of the comb, and I'm just going to collapse this. But what I'm also going to do is just savor the time from it blow dry. Now, see how I'm not getting aggressive with that? So I'm not getting really too aggressive with that in terms of how that looks. Okay. You can just start to see that. All right. Now watch. We're going to go here on this up just to the left side. Right here. Like work that center. Okay. Now I'm coming to the left side. So now length, Sam. How do I determine my length? Well, I like to say a lot of times length is determined by personality. So you know, this one, she tends to be fragile. So I'm going about maybe halfway than what I normally might with my length. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'll allow that to just basically sit, this length sit right over that. So the shape will be, number one, not as thick. Number two, easier to maintain. And number three, it's going to collapse the shape back here. So it's not going to be so heavy and so full. Okay, that's important. All right, there we go. Because of degree of shortness, I'm going to use another clip. There we go. So just think scissor over comb, but instead you're using a blending shear. Now, Sam, why a blending shear? I just find that this makes the edge softer. Okay, so then when this grows out, because it's maybe so minutely soft, what's going to happen is it is going to be softer in terms of movement as it gets longer. And that's easier to maintain than it being so even, it comes out more stiff. It doesn't have pliability. That's why I like using a blending shear when I work scissor over comb. Okay, it's a matter of preference, guys. You know, some people go, well, that's cheating. I didn't know you could cheat in this industry. All right, now watch. This sits over that. Okay. And now you can just start to see with my cross check underneath, look how I don't have any of that crappage underneath there. And now look at how the easy maintenance is because that has an underlayer into it. Sam, what's the difference between an undercut and an underlayer? An undercut, my friends, is scissor over comb down to the wood, down to the scalp. An underlayer is where there's a little bit more length and you get maybe a little bit more movement to it. So that's the difference between an undercut and an underlayer. Tammy, you're coming in horizontal. How deep are you placing the comb to the head? Thank you, Tammy. Okay, watch. Let's just take a section. I'm going to give you a profile view of this. Here's my section. Okay, now the closer the comb is to the scalp, the shorter the distance is inside. Okay, now that's if you're going to maintain, just take out texture. Let's say, for example, I'm going to take this length off and I'm going to use the blending shear. So where you place your comb and where you move up and down, that determines the length. So based upon that length of the nape area, if this was the length that she had, I decided I'm going to go halfway. So I want you to be aware, Tammy, great question you're asking is, what's the length you desire? That's how far out or the distance will be determined from scalp to comb. And then that's where you're going to share it. Go in and cut. Jared, with clients that have fine hair, would you still use the blending shears or could you use the slide cutting shear and not take out as much hair? Jared, you could use either. Now remember, there's a difference between the two. Okay, I'm getting a blocked off action with that shear. Look at that, blocked. Okay, with a slide cutting shear, I'm getting a softer, more pliable edge to that hair shaft. So with fine hair, I feel because it needs something or, you know, a little bit more softness to it, I think, yes, slide cutting shears are great. If you feel you have fine hair, you want to control it in terms of it's highly decolorized, I might go in with a blender. Great question you asked there, my friend Jared. I hope that helps you out. Okay. All right. Rosanna, thank you for being with us, Rosanna. What happens if my client wants her bob very much longer from the front? Yes. In other words, watch Rosanna. If you have an A-line, okay, watch what I'm doing. I'm taking this hair, I'm pulling way back over to here. So can you see that? Well, excuse me. Sorry, I'm thinking about the next thing I'm going to show you. Okay, let's say you have an A-line and the length is down here. Okay, and what you're talking about is, Sam, I'm taking this hair everywhere. Yep, I go here, right where it lives, and then I would take it opposite from where it lives. Look at where I'm going diagonal back to me here. So then I'm pulling away from where I have the length. What I don't want you to do is do this, Rosanna. You stand here opposite, directly opposite, not diagonal opposite on an A-line, and you come in and you do this, you're going to take that front corner off. So great question, be aware, where's the length? And here's the common way to think about that. Where you want length, pull away from it. Stand away from it. So wherever I want length, I pull away from it. What size shear to use for this cut? Excuse me. I used my 7-inch dry cutting shear. I use this for this particular cut. And the reason being is because, number one, dry cutting and the length, and then I use the swivel just because of the way I was working in the nape area. And I like working with a longer shear when I'm cutting my bobs. And that's because it allows me to get that length in there and close that line right on where I'm at on that, okay? Let's see. Hi, Amanda. Oh, my God, I met you in Cancun in 2012. Wow, that was 8 years ago. How do I look? Nice to see you, Amanda. Let's see, questions. Okay, good. All right, let's move on now. All right, so the same thing, guys, in terms of the idea of that nape area. That's what we were talking about there. All right, now let's go back to our long bob. And let's go in and let's talk about, you've got a bob, and she says to you, she says, this is just, where's your face? She says to me, I want this hair. I want some volume, Sam. I'm looking for volume now. All right. And this keeps continually falling in my face. It just keeps falling in my face. And I just want my bob to kind of do this, to stay like that instead of it doing this. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Now watch what I'm going to do. I don't want you to panic. I'm going to keep a blending shear in my hand. Remember, that's the problem. You need a solution. Sometimes it's not just about a haircut, knowing a haircut from step 1 to step 5. Especially in today's world, guys, they may come in and they may say, you know what, I really like in my hair, but I've got this, 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 and this. I now want you to solve this, 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 and this, whatever it happens to be. So it's not so much now about going in and really starting the haircut. Maybe some of them, don't get me wrong, please. Maybe some of them are coming in saying, Sam, I'm up for something completely different. That's when you go for it. All right, so let's solve this. Watch this now. All right, what does she want this to do? She wants this to have some action. She wants a little bit more volume. And when I'm done, she wants it to actually kind of sit like this without me actually going in and overlayering it. All right, she's not asking so much for layers. She just wants it to kind of get some control to it so it sits back. All right, so let's go to her natural part, which I believe she parts in that center. All right, and now I know that diagonal lines like this, if I cut diagonal this way, okay, that is going to go in and that is going to get that hair to have a natural common tendency to move back. So it's just a matter of what do you want the hair to do? You need to think about, you need to cut to that. So let me give you a dark comb here. So see the line of what I'm going to do? So that's that line. So I want to cut this line inside of the existing length. See that? So I want to cut that line inside of the existing length. And I'm just going to work with one section, another section, and another section working back. Okay, so these are the sections I'm going to take as I work back. What I'm going to do is I want to maintain the length. I'm going to put a diagonal line inside of the existing length. I'm going to make this diagonal line soft. So don't panic when you see me do this. All right. All right. Let's eliminate this side for control. All right. So we eliminate that. Let's take a diagonal back section here. Leave the hairline alone. Okay. Let's just leave that alone for a moment. We can come back to that. So I'm going to come through and isolate that. Now I'm going to take a diagonal back section here. I'm going to take this section, drop that hairline out. Okay. So now let's take a look at the section I've got. Okay. That's the section I have. You can see I'm dropping her hairline out. Okay. Once I'm here, now I'm going to come through and all I simply want to do, I want to go in and I'm going to take and cut a line. I'm going to turn her this way so you can see me. Okay, there. Okay, now sit still now. Thank you. All right, put the shear in the line I'm going to cut. See, that's going diagonal back. Here's her nose. Okay, I'm going to cut this line, but I'm going to weave that line in. Look at me weave with a shear. So see, I weave it like a highlight. Now I'm going to come through. I'm going to close and lightly just backstroke on that. Close and lightly backstroke. Don't think about how you're damaging the hair. Stop it. Remember, you're going in there and you're doing that for a reason. Why, Sam? Watch. When I come through and I comb this out, I want you to use just the comb vertically. Look at that. See how easy that tangle came out instead of going in horizontally. So what I've done is I've left the length, but now what I've done is you can't see it, but I've textured that so that this is going to move back in that direction. Okay, let's take our next section. Watch how I'll lay that section down. Okay, I come back through, take another diagonal section back. Okay, lay that down, come through, take another diagonal section back. And because I'm going into the back of the head, I can go deeper. See how I dropped that out last time. Okay, I over direct forward. So look how I'm over directing this forward. Let's give you a little bit more face frame. Okay, there you go. You can just start to see her a little bit more. Okay, and look how I'm starting to really over direct this section. And the reason being I'm over directing is because I know I want this hair to move back and away. That's why I'm trying to over direct that. So pull away from, move away from where we want length. I take the shear diagonal. Sam, how much do you know how to weave? That's going to be based on density. So you simply base that on density, my friends. I take the section back up. Watch. If I comb through that horizontally, you will go through and get your comb caught. What I want you to do is come through vertically, do this. And because of the fact that I'm going through and the way that I'm cutting this, you don't see a hard line there. Okay. Now I've cut two sections so far, and watch the difference in terms of the response, in terms of the way that's moving. Look at that. Okay. That's what's so cool about just taking a bob and just giving it a little bit control just by simply taking out a small amount of the weight. Now, I don't know about you, but that's like, okay, wow. I kept the bob. Watch how that line, you don't see a line. Look at that. See that? But now look at how it's getting some movement to it. So when she does that. So now you can, once you've got the idea, come back in. And if you want to get a little bit more aggressive, go back into it again. That's all you simply need to do. So now look how I got that bob. I got my bob, but now look at the direction I'm getting that hair. Okay. Just give me some direction versus everything being so heavy and one length. All right. Questions, concerns. All right. Are you getting this, guys? It's so important you get this. Remember, in today's world, being a hairdresser behind the chair, overprotect, don't overact, and start thinking problems and solutions. Start thinking, what's your problem? I got the solution. Let's not get started. I mean, I'm still going to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, my haircuts. But I'm now more concerned about really giving you information that's going to help you behind the chair to solve what they're coming in with. All right, let's go to the opposite side. All right, now watch the opposite side. All right. All right, so we're going to go diagonal back. Now watch, this time I'm going to go into the hairline. Let's go into the hairline so you can kind of see the difference a little bit. So it's going to kind of like take out some of the weight, but it's going to make that front a little bit lighter. Go diagonal back. Now remember, on the opposite side, I didn't go into the hairline. I want you to just see the difference, guys. All right, this is all about learning at Sam Villa brand. All right, here we go. Okay, now I know diagonal, watch. Here's the comb. Okay, I'm over directing. See how I'm over directing? Look what I'm going diagonally back. Okay, see how that's going diagonal back? Now watch how I'll weave that line. I just weave that line. And you control the weave. Look at my weave. Okay, now watch me close. Diagonal. Look at the shear. It's on a diagonal. Close. Back. So you open and close and just slide the shear back. Now, if you don't want to get confused, you cut that, leave it. Okay. It can also act for more control when you're sectioning. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. Now I know where I need to go. So Sam, how important is it that I match what I did down below? Now you're overthinking it. Remember, texture just requires a really soft mindset. All right. Really soft mindset. So that is important. You have to understand that, guys. Okay, I'm going to weave just a little bit more. Oh, wow, you're kidding, Sam. No, see, once you understand this and you see where you have a little bit more weight and you really want to get this to stay back, the more you do it, the better it's going to be. What I like doing is any client that comes in and says, has a bob, and she says, I'm thinking about layering, introduce her to this. And when you introduce them to this, they're like, come back and go, oh, I want a little bit more of that layering. That's what's so cool about it. Google user, which way do you point the teeth of the texting shears during this technique? Thank you for asking, Mr. Google. Mr. Google. All right. The shears are pointed up. Now, what I want you to understand, the blunt blade is the one that's weaving it. Okay. So you may have a habit of putting in the shear where it's like this. where it's the teeth are on the bottom. If you try to weave with the teeth, you're going to have issues. Okay, so I want you to take the blunt blade, see the line of what you want, and then weave it in. So it's shorter at that top and longer underneath. And when all that hair comes out, then you're set to go. Okay, let's leave the back alone. Sam, could I do this all the way to the back? Yes. I'll show you what you can do even on the top when they want a little bit more volume. Now look at me brushing this, combing this out. Watch, guys. If I do this, you're putting the tangles in deeper. If you followed me, we've talked about the paddle brush, turning it vertically. It's the same principle with the comb. Turn it vertically to get the tangles out. Now watch this. You saw those tangles. Okay. Now watch how I can comb through that. And now let's see the result on this side. Okay. Watch the result on this side. Look at that. Okay. So now look at, see the result? Okay. So now you can just start to see how you've learned to kind of like extract the weight to give a bob some movement without really alternating the bob and really like going through and changing that bob so drastically. So now when she goes in, she can put her hands through and she's got some movement to it. Sarah, is it better to use that technique on dry hair after it's styled, or can you use it on wet hair too? Great question, Sarah. Boom, kudos. I suggest doing it on dry. And the reason being is because you can read the density when you're cutting it dry. Okay, if you do it wet, guys, water is taking over visually and water takes over physically in the way it feels. You might be able to tell, but remember, when hair is wet, it clumps up more. So Sam, what's the difference between dry cutting and wet cutting? Dry cutting gives me a little bit more working with the natural texture if I choose, or determining how much density, how much weight, or being able to see the visual line that I cut. Wet cutting, I love to cut wet when I'm going for more precision. I want more control. I'm changing the look completely. Then I might go into wet. I find now, maybe today, you might be doing a little bit more dry cutting. Can you do this on super thin hair? Yes, you can. Remember, you control the weave, Denise. So I've got super thin hair. Take my diagonal back section. Watch the weave. I'm going to weave way over here for you like this. Now watch me just look how little that weave is. So you control the weave, Denise. So you base this, look at that. See that? Look how much I'm taking. I'll put it in my hand. That's how much I weaved out. Okay, so you control the texture. So let me just say it real simple. I'm the messenger giving you the technique. Let the fabric tell you how, what, when, and why. Does that make sense, guys? Don't learn something and go, oh, I love this, and you go do it on everybody. You do it on the one fabric, on a fabric that doesn't need it, or fabric that you overuse it, then it's just going to cause more problems. Layla, would this technique make the thicker hair woman swell more than usual? Depends upon their hair. Does it expand? Meaning, does she have natural movement in it? If she has, I would say, medium natural movement to it, it's going to expand, but not a lot. Now, if they have a lot of natural movement to it, it's got some good curl, it's got some good wave, it's going to expand. So what would you do to counter that, Sam? Once again, control your weave. I only have shears with teeth on both sides. Can I use them too? Margarita, unfortunately, no. Remember, if you try to weave with this technique with the teeth, then what's going to happen is you are going to go in and you're going to have issues in regards to the way you're trying to weave that. The blunt blade is going to pick up the hair a lot better than the teeth are going to pick it up. Cool? All right, so now let's go to the crown area. Let's say that she says to me, I want some lift. Okay, I'm going to bring her down a little bit so you can really see this. All right, let's say she wants some lift. All right, some lift in the crown. Then I want you to take the same technique. I want you to come in horizontal now. So this is her face up here, guys. So now I'm coming in horizontal. Okay, so now I'm coming in horizontal. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come in, take a vertical section. And this is great to modernize backcombing. See, that was the teeth down. Okay, I want the blunt blade down. So I just reversed it in my hand. Okay, read it. Watch me read. Look at the way it bends. So I'm going to cut on the where it just starts to bend, not where it starts to bend, but where that bend starts to end. That way, I'm not cutting it too short. So once again, all I did was read the hair. Now look at it. I'm doing the same thing I just did, but I'm doing it where I want lift, which is in the crown area. So if I have a client that has backcombing, guys, and she says to me, she goes, I want some lift. and she backcombs her hair. I go, excuse me, let's modernize your backcombing. Your backcombing is getting a little vintage looking. What's vintage mean? Vintage means what? Old, okay, antique. So I don't know anybody that woke up and said, I want to look old. So what I want you to do, guys, is modernize it. So watch what I'm doing. All I'm doing is just weaving, okay? I'm controlling how much I weave, and I just close, backstroke, close, back, open, close, backstroke, open, close, backstroke. You do not close the shear and just keep backstroking. Watch. So I weave. You don't close a shear and just keep doing this. That's doing nothing. You got to cut the hair. Oh, backstroke, open. Sam, why do you backstroke on it, guys? Because when I backstroke, it pushes it and it gives it various lines. So I'm not cutting on the same line. That's why I love this. Some people go, when they see this, they go, you're crazy. Hey, guys, listen, it's a matter of what works. I recommend if you're watching this and you're saying, this guy's crazy, I recommend you try it and then ask yourself, if you or I are crazy. I don't know about you, but things change. Look what's happening in the industry. We've got to be open to change. We need to find other ways in which to do things. Why? Because time is an issue for you. So I'm just trying to make things much easier for you in terms of what you're doing and how you're doing that. Did you see me going horizontally and how I got tangled on that? I should be lifting this hair in the palm of my hand and coming in with that comb vertically. Now watch. Now when I do this, guys, okay, you saw this mannequin. This mannequin was pretty much all one length. Now watch. When I do this, look at the volume she's getting back there now. Okay, just really cool way in terms of working with your bobs and working with the blending shear. This is the blending shear, and we do have Christmas in July. So if anybody's interested in that, make sure you check that out, Christmas in July. All right, now she's really gained some trust in me, and she says, Sam, I really want it layered out. I said, okay, let's go layered then. So here's what I'm going to do. Watch on the board. What I want to do is I want to divide this into 4 simple sections. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to divide this down that middle part. I like to work with the middle part, okay? Regardless if they part on the side, especially if I'm going through and I'm layering that top area, okay? I really recommend work with the middle part, then come back after you've layered it, you've even off your layering, then come back and ask, do you cut it part on the side? Now cut that fringe area to move in the direction that you want it to move. So now all I've done is I've just divided it in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take I want to maintain my bob. Remember, this is a story about maintaining the bob. So because I want to maintain the bob, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this crown area here, and I'm going to cut this area, okay? So it's going to be right around that occipital crown area. That's what I'm going to do. Then what I want to do is take this number of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? This is her left eye, so this is 2 and 3. Okay, this is the back. Her right ear is 1. That's 2. Okay, follow me now, guys. Her left eye is 3. Left eye, that's 3 and 4. All right, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to take all of this hair, okay? I'm going to elevate this up and over, all right? So I'm going to bring this up and over. So this hair is going to come to this triangle. 2 is going to go to 4. 4 is going to go to 2. And 3 is going to go to 1. So now what I mean, I'm going to take, this is number 1. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to lift all this hair up over to here. Okay, I'm going to come through. I'm going to texturize it. You'll see in a moment. So now all this hair is lifted up. So what I want to do is I want to give that top volume. Okay, now watch number 2. On number 2, what happens is you're going to see number 2. This is going to go this way. Okay, so it's going to do that. So watch how I'm going to execute this. And this is a great way to go in and give it some, once again, just some texture, some volume to it. Okay, and I'm
Hey, Sam.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, just before you move on to that technique,
Yeah.
there was quite a few questions about different textures and formations of hair with that backcombing technique. Can you just touch on that before you move on?
You bet I would. Okay, let me set you up this way. Thanks for that, Andrew. Let me set it up this way, guys. You've got straight hair, and then you have a coil type of texture. All right, so I've got straight to coil. Okay, and in between there, I've got a nice like 1 to 10. Inside of there, 1, 2, it starts to get a little bit more wavy. Then it starts to get extremely curly, and even at curliest. Okay, more of a coral. coil. So I would stay anywhere from 1 to 6. When I get into 7, where there's a structured type of curl like this, then I would tend to stay away from that concept of what I just showed you, backcombing with blending shears, because you're going to tend to make it frizzy. Okay, so you really got to control and understand what's the texture in terms of the amount of undulation you have. Let me give you an example. All right, on the board here. Okay, this is 1. Okay, that's number 1. Okay, now as I go to 10, okay, this is 10. Okay, that's 10. 1 is straight. So now this would be something like this. Just a soft, really soft type of curl. And then this would be maybe you just start to get some wave. And then you start to get even wavier. And now you're starting to get a little bit more wave into a curl. Do you see where I'm going here? So when I get somewhere right in here, Andrew, that's when I suggest you stay away from backcombing. I hope that helps to answer that in regards to that. Because let's see, let me just say it this way. And I've said this many times. Just as a fashion designer understands the limits and capabilities of silk, they know what they can do with silk. They know that it only has certain things that it can do, capabilities. They understand its limits. And they understand the limits of wool, what wool can do and what it cannot do, or what you don't try to force it to do. So it's the same thing with us as hairdressers. This is the fabric I'm working with, okay? It's called hair. But there's all different types of fabric, and we have to understand how to work with each type of fabric in its own way. As I said earlier, I said, make sure, let the fabric tell you what you can and cannot do to it. I think that is so important, guys, that we know that. So I have to understand the fabric. Let the fabric tell you what you can and cannot do. All right, so what I've done, I've isolated the underneath. Okay, I'm going to show you. So I've isolated that underneath so that I can pick the hair up and cut it. And I've done this 4 times around, okay? There's the back. Let's give you center back. All right, which is where I'm going to start. Number 1. Number 1 is the left ear. So this is number 1 here. So I'm going to stay right with my drawing for you. Okay, let's go to now. I'm going to put these up this way so you can really see them. Let's take a look at them first, Sam. All right, I'll be happy to do that. Looks like you're going to layer into the fringe area. Yeah, I'm going to give her a little bit of a longer fringe based upon how I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to get it moving. Remember, she's interested in layers now, okay, but still wants to keep a bob. All right, let's go to the first section here, okay? Now, taking exactly what I just showed you, all right? First section, I'm going to lower these down so I can get to them. All right. Now, here's a great way. Let's say a client comes in and says, I like my bob, I want to like bob, but I'm ready for some layers, Sam. Okay, let's go through, let's layer it. All right, so we're going to do the same thing, all right, that we just did. Now, lower the chair. So I've got to take her halfway down so that you can see what I'm doing and I can get to this a little bit easier. Now, I'm going to bring this up, okay? Now, watch what I'm going to do, guys. Once I'm here, okay, let's make sure I've got my section correct. All right, that should have been in the clip. So making sure, oops, guys, you okay there? All right, making sure this line connects. So all I've done is take the back crown area and divide it into 2 sections, down, center, back, okay? This is a triangle, okay? So the triangle's narrow here, and it gets wider down here at the base. I'm standing the center of my body, the opposite side of the triangle, okay? Then all I'm going to do is take my triangle, split it in half. Okay, once I have that split in half, I'm taking my hand. So now my hand is floating right over her hairline. Okay, watch how this floats right over her hairline. Look where I'm at. Okay, so I'm right at the edge of her hairline. That's going to determine how much hair I take off in this particular case. Okay, so let's go here. All right, now watch how this will happen really quickly, and then we'll put some closure on our class today. All right, there. Okay, now I take this section, my next section. Okay, and I'm not worried about a guide. I put my hand over the hairline. Okay, and I keep going till all that hair comes off. Once it comes off, I release. All right, let's go to the next one now. I go to number 2. Okay, now watch number 2. I pick up, or I don't need to pick up because I know I'm going to the what? Hairline. Once my hand's over that hairline, divide this in 2, Sam. Don't get greedy. And whatever reaches up, right from there, there's my section, okay, right to the hairline, and I cut. Okay, I take what's left of my section. Okay, hairline, my hand sits at the hairline. What do you, Sam, I don't quite understand that. My hand is actually floating on top of her hairline. Let's just take that down. Take this, now I'm in that front area. Take that, divide that in half. There's my area I need. Okay, now I'm going to take a guide. See, there's my guide right there. I take that little guide and I come through. I see that guide, I see it, and I cut to that. Okay, then I come back in and I take my next section, whatever is left here. That's why I like using the clips, guys, because the clips, you can see it's controlling. See how the hair just floats over the clip? It's controlling the hair that I actually take. Now I come back over, okay, and I could see that my guide where that was, there's that length. And guys, soften up your mindset. There's, you know, what I mean by that is there's margin for error. Can certainly have margin for error, because what I mean by softening your mindset, that's what allows you to get texture. You know, when I'm too stiff with myself in terms of what I'm doing and I'm kind of make everything so precise, I think what's most important is the haircut must balance and it must function, but it does not necessarily have to, okay, hold still now. Okay. It does not necessarily have to blend in, guys. Okay. Here, okay, I can see there's that guide. All right. And I take my last section here. There it is there. And this comes up. So remember, 4 triangle sections. And I like doing it to these triangles because the triangles actually make it where it's really just short at the narrow part of the triangle, not the entire triangle. Now watch that. Look how little I did. Now watch the difference. Now can you just start to see, bring her up for you. Look at, see the difference? So now look at how I've given her some extreme layering, but it's really soft, okay? And you don't see a line there at all, guys, in terms of that. So you don't see a line in regards to how that's working. And I'll just give her a little spin so you can see that. Look, see? But now when I start to touch this, look how that just gets a little bit frothier, okay? And when she starts to do this, move her hands through it, she's got some things happening in regards to some movement. And that's the idea, is I just really wanted to focus today on just sharing you some techniques in regards to really solving the issues with these bobs that are coming in and really maybe liking where they're at, but just want to have some movement and something done to that. Did you walk away with something today, guys? Hi, Aviv from Israel. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys walked away with something today, guys. As you know, at Samvia, we're always trying to give you something that you can use back in the salon. We really feel that's so important. Once again, today's day was all about just bobs, just taking them and working with bobs in terms of going in and solving problems and solutions. That's such a key in regards to what's happening in today's world.